The adoption of synthetic fibers was not merely an act of desperation, it was a strategic industrial evolution driven by three critical advantages that natural fibers simply could not offer. Firstly, synthetics offered unprecedented mechanical durability. Nylon, for instance, became famous for its strength and elasticity, radically transforming hosiery and later sportswear. Polyester, meanwhile, offered crease resistance and a robustness that extended the lifespan of a garment, at least in a technical sense. Secondly, and most importantly for the future of the industry, was economic certainty. Unlike cotton, which required large-scale agriculture and faced volatile commodity markets, synthetics were derived from petrochemicals. Their supply chain was industrial, predictable, and crucially, scalable. This chemical origin allowed for a staggering reduction in material cost per garment. Finally, synthetics offered formability and flexibility. They could be engineered to mimic the texture of silk, the bulk of wool, or the hand feel of cotton, but at a fraction of the cost, making them the perfect raw material for an industry seeking total control over its supply chain. This new, inexpensive class of material was the catalyst for the single greatest transformation in retail history, the rise of the fast fashion business model. In the decades following the Second World War, the shift to synthetic fibers fundamentally devalued the garment in the consumer's perception. When a shirt's primary raw material transitioned from a commodity grown over months in a field to a fiber extruded from oil in a factory, its cost plummeted. This allowed retailers to increase the volume of production dramatically, simultaneously accelerating their rate at which they introduced new collections. Before synthetics, clothing adhered to seasonal cycles, spring, summer, and autumn, winter. With the cost of production radically lowered, retailers could introduce new micro-seasons every few weeks. This strategy, known as speed to market, created a perpetual state of novelty. The economic consequence was clear. Profitability was no longer derived from selling high-quality garments that lasted for years, but from selling vast quantities of low-cost, disposable items bought for immediate trend following. The consumer was subtly reprogrammed. Clothing ceased to be an investment in durability or tailoring, and instead became a disposable cultural medium. This shift, enabled by the low barrier to entry provided by polyester and nylon, is the precise moment when the modern environmental textile crisis found its footing. While the economic utility of synthetics is undeniable, their environmental footprint presents a complex analytical challenge. The reliance on petrochemicals means that the textile industry, by extension, is directly connected to the fossil fuel economy. The production of polyester alone demands significant energy input, binding the fabric directly to carbon emissions at the point of manufacture. However, the environmental challenge does not end at production. The core issue of synthetics lies in their post-consumer phase, specifically in their degradation. Since these materials are essentially plastic, they do not biodegrade in the manner of natural fibers. Furthermore, every time a synthetic garment is washed, it sheds minute strands, microplastic fibers, which bypass water treatment plants and enter marine and terrestrial ecosystems. These invisible fragments now constitute a significant portion of global plastic pollution. The very features that made synthetics an industrial triumph, their durability and resistance to breakdown, are the exact properties that define their environmental legacy as persistent pollutants. The story of the synthetic alternative is the story of industrial efficiency overcoming the limits of nature. It established a system of perpetual consumption built on a resource that is abundant, yet inherently unsustainable in its current application. It is a cautionary tale of how economic benefits can eclipse long-term ecological consequences. Yet, there is one part of the manufacturing process that is often overlooked. As clothing speeds through the global supply chain, it undergoes a chemical transformation. In our next analysis, we will delve into the hidden chemical footprint of dyeing and finishing, the secret process that defines the color and feel of your clothes, and the heavy price paid by the planet's water supply.